I believe that I would beat anybody on your roster that's under 10 fights. Anyone.
We can do that.
Any one of your fighters that has under 10 fights. Easy.
Okay.
So
a cruiserweight?
any weight. Literally any weight.
Okay. So
any weight.
Any weight.
Any weight.
Perfect.
I will beat anybody on your roster.
I've got about 400 of them.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Let's run it up.
Chef
No
Chef,
problem.
Chef Clark.
Give me your best real boxer.
Okay. Chef Clark.
Give me your best real boxer.
Chef Clark, 1-0, right? Boxed in the Olympics, didn't medal. 1-0, just had one professional fight. He's a cruiserweight.
The fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson sparked a firestorm of controversy. While Paul celebrated his victory, critics like Eddie Hearn were quick to point out that the fight was an unfair spectacle, given Tyson's age and decline. Hearn, known for his sharp criticisms of Paul's rise in boxing, even challenged Jake to face one of his fighters. The tension between the two continues to grow, with Hearn calling out Paul's approach to the sport, while Jake confidently responds to each provocation, eager to prove himself against any opponent, no matter the odds.
I don't know how good he is because he hasn't really faced a real fighter yet. It's not his fault. He signed to fight Tommy Fury.
A five-time world champion in Tyron Woodley's a real fighter.
He's not a real boxer. He's not, Jake.
Well, I mean,
Jake,
the
he
first...
can't.
Jake Paul, the 27-year-old YouTuber turned boxer, made headlines when he defeated the legendary Mike Tyson in a shocking match. Tyson, 58 years old, once ruled the boxing world with his brutal knockouts, and the thought of him stepping into the ring with Paul sparked outrage among fans. Tyson's illustrious career saw victories over top fighters like Michael Spinks and Larry Holmes, with his last professional win coming in 2003. However, his age and decline in recent years raised questions about whether this fight was a true test of Paul's skills. Jake Paul's rise in the boxing world has been quick and controversial. Known for taking on fighters who were either past their prime or retired, Paul has built his career by facing opponents like Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, and now Mike Tyson. His critics argue that he has been selective in his choice of opponents, targeting those who are no longer in their prime, which has raised doubts about his actual boxing ability. Despite the backlash, Paul's ability to generate massive pay-per-view numbers and social media buzz has made him a fixture in the sport. The fight between Paul and Tyson was highly anticipated, but ultimately failed to live up to expectations. While the event gained significant attention, with Netflix reporting record-breaking viewership, it was overshadowed by criticisms about Tyson's age and fitness. Paul's ability to target aging or retired fighters has earned him both fame and criticism, and many continue to question whether he will ever face a truly competitive opponent in their prime. The match with Tyson, though historic, further fueled these debates and solidified Paul's reputation as a polarizing figure in boxing.
A better fight, so then I could have risen more and done more, and he was surviving.
He was
so
annoying.
That was the only thing I didn't like.
So annoying when they don't bring the fight to you.
Yeah,
but he got you with a couple punches. How did they feel?
Nothing. Didn't feel a thing, to be honest.
Jake Paul's comments after his victory over Mike Tyson added fuel to the ongoing controversy surrounding the fight. On the Impulsive podcast, Paul expressed his disappointment with Tyson's performance, stating that he had hoped for a better challenge. He seemed frustrated that Tyson was merely surviving in the ring, which, according to Paul, prevented him from fully showcasing his skills and elevating the fight. This comment drew criticism, as many felt that Paul's lack of respect for Tyson, a legendary fighter, was rude and dismissive. Logan Paul, Jake's brother, chimed in, agreeing with Jake's sentiment about the lack of aggression from Tyson. He too seemed irritated that Tyson didn't bring the fight to Jake, further highlighting their view of the match as an opportunity missed. When Logan asked Jake about the punches Tyson did land, Jake's response was equally disrespectful. He claimed he didn't feel a thing, downplaying Tyson's punches as if they were nothing more than a nuisance. This response was widely viewed as disrespectful not just to Tyson, but to the sport itself, as it came across as arrogant and dismissive of the challenges that Tyson, even at his age, still posed in the ring.
Because I think it's just disrespectful to the sport, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch one of my all-time favourite fighters, one of my heroes, I guess, in a boxing ring at 55 years of age, physically a shell of what he once was.
Eddie Hearn, the prominent British boxing promoter who represents top fighters like Canelo Alvarez, Alexander Usyk, and Dimitri Bivol, was one of the loudest critics of the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Before the highly publicized fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, Hearn expressed his disapproval of the match, calling it disrespectful to the sport of boxing. He, along with others, questioned the ethics of allowing a 55-year-old Tyson, well past his prime, to compete in the ring. Tyson, once a ferocious and unstoppable force in boxing, boxing, was now seen by many as a shell of his former self, physically unable to match the intensity he once brought to the sport.
I'm not saying abandon the fight. I'm just going, not for me, mate. I don't want to watch it. So, like, when he finished boxing 20 years ago, he was shot. Agreed? Like, I know you don't upset anyone, but everyone agrees with that. So you think that 20 years on, it's okay for him to go back into a ring? Even against Jake Paul, it doesn't matter. Like, Jake Paul, as limited as he is, he can punch. He's, 26?
Eddie Hearn further clarified his stance on the Tyson versus Jake Paul fight by acknowledging that he wasn't advocating for the fight to be completely abandoned, but simply expressing his personal disinterest in watching it. He pointed out that Tyson's decline was evident even when he retired from boxing 20 years ago. Hearn emphasized that Tyson, who had already shown signs of being shot at the time of his retirement, was not in a position to return to the ring now, especially not against someone like Jake Paul. Hearn also noted the contradiction in the situation, questioning how it could be acceptable for Tyson, so far removed from his prime, to step back into a boxing ring after 2 decades. While acknowledging Paul's punching power, Hearn also highlighted that Jake Paul, at 26 years old, despite being limited in terms of experience and skills, still possessed physical abilities that gave him an advantage over a fighter of Tyson's age and condition.
I watched the first 30 seconds, which were quite entertaining, and then after it was just horrible to watch. And that's, I just, like, did you enjoy watching most of that fight? It was hard to watch, but it was always going to be like that. But it doesn't have to be. They're not making this for me. Look how many people turned up. Look how many people tuned in. So I can't knock it. It's just not for me, and that's not disrespectful.
Despite promoting Katie Taylor's successful rematch against Amanda Serrano on the same undercard as the Paul versus Tyson fight, Hearn did not shy away from sharing his disappointment with the event. After the fight, when asked about his thoughts on the bout, Hearn didn't hold back. He admitted to watching the first 30 seconds, which he found quite entertaining, but soon lost interest as the fight went on. He described the remainder of the match as horrible to watch, emphasizing that it was exactly what he had expected. While Hearn acknowledged that the fight had a significant audience and was successful in terms of viewership, he made it clear that it was not something he personally enjoyed. However, he also pointed out that he couldn't criticize the event too harshly, given its financial success and widespread attention. Hearn clarified that his opinion wasn't meant to be disrespectful, but rather a reflection of his perspective on the fight as a fan of traditional boxing. As Hearn also mentioned in another interview on IFL TV, the outcome of the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight was exactly what he had anticipated. He explained that Tyson, despite being a legendary figure in boxing, was only dangerous for the first 30 seconds of the fight. After that brief moment, Tyson's age and decline became evident. Hearn pointed out that Tyson got knackered, his stamina fading as the fight progressed. He also noted that Tyson's once unmatchable timing and power were no longer present, highlighting the challenges that come with age and the physical toll of years in the ring.
I don't believe you will ever get close to being a world-class fighter.
I believe that I would beat anybody on your roster that's under 10 fights. Anyone.
We can do that.
Any one of your fighters that has under 10 fights. Easy.
Chev
No
Clark.
problem.
Chev Clark.
Give me your best real boxer.
Okay. Chev Clark.
Give me your best real boxer.
Chev Clark, 1-0, right? Boxed in the Olympics, didn't medal. 1-0, just had one professional fight. He's a cruiserweight.
Eddie Hearn and Jake Paul have always had a tense relationship, with Hearn frequently criticizing Paul's approach to boxing. Hearn has been outspoken about Paul's lack of professionalism and his rapid rise through the ranks of the sport, often pointing out that Paul hasn't faced truly competitive world-class opponents. On one occasion, Eddie Hearn challenged Jake to face one of his fighters with less than 10 professional fights. Jake, ever confident, responded that he believed he could beat anyone on Hearn's roster who had under 10 professional bouts. Hearn, not missing a beat, accepted the challenge and suggested a fighter named Chef Clark, a cruiserweight with just one professional fight under his belt. Jake, unfazed by the suggestion, boldly responded, "No problem, give me your best boxer." The exchange highlighted the tension between the two, with Jake eager to prove himself, while Hearn remained cautious, willing to test Jake's skills against a relatively inexperienced but legitimate professional.
Jake looked pretty average because Gibb was terrible as well, and it was like 2 YouTubers.
Hey,
what?
Don't start this off like that.
What?
You can't. I beat him in 1 minute. How do you even
but-
assess how good I was?
Well, because I said I didn't know. And actually,
But you
I've
called
not-
me average after
You
1
are
minute.
average.
But you called me after 1 minute of my first professional fight.
No, but you're still average. You're not.
That's not true. I just beat a 5-time world
beat a
champion.
In an interview with Ariel Helwani, Eddie Hearn took the opportunity to roast Jake Paul, calling his performance against Ali Gibb pretty average, adding that Gibb was terrible as well. Hearn likened the fight to a bout between two YouTubers, suggesting that the level of competition wasn't serious enough to showcase any real boxing skill from Paul. Jake, clearly irritated by the comment, quickly fired back, saying, "Well, don't start this off like that," as he defended his abilities and questioned how anyone could accurately assess his talent after such a brief fight, where he had knocked Gibb out in just 1 minute. The exchange turned tense when Jake retorted, "I beat him in 1 minute, how do you even assess how good I was?" He then pointed out Hearn's comment, calling him average, asking, "You called me average?" Hearn didn't back down, replying confidently, "You're still average." Jake shot back, saying, "You know it's not true," trying to assert his skills despite the ongoing criticism.
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
Floyd Mayweather, in an interview with TMZ Sports in 2022, also shared his thoughts on Jake Paul's boxing skills. While he acknowledged Paul's success so far, Mayweather pointed out that Paul's victories came against MMA fighters and fellow YouTubers, suggesting that Paul had been facing opponents who were not true boxers. According to Mayweather, as long as Jake Paul continued to fight individuals from those backgrounds, he would likely keep winning and maintaining his image as a skilled fighter. However, Mayweather warned that the real test for Paul would come when he faced a real fighter, someone who was a legitimate boxer with the skills and experience to expose the limits of Paul's abilities. In Mayweather's eyes, once Paul stepped into the ring with someone truly proficient in boxing, his previous success would no longer translate, and the outcome wouldn't be as favorable. Many figures from the boxing and combat sports world were quick to express their disappointment with the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Light welterweight sensation Ryan Garcia tweeted bluntly, "No point of that fight," a sentiment shared by many who felt the bout lacked any true competitive value. Gervonta Davis, the light heavyweight champion, wrote dismissively about Paul on social media, stating, Jake Paul, reflecting the frustration many fighters had with Paul's choice of opponents and his approach to the sport. Former professional heavyweight Nicola Adams also weighed in on the matchup, noting on X that a younger Mike Tyson would have absolutely annihilated Jake Paul. Adams acknowledged Tyson's incredible fitness at 58, but pointed out that age had taken its toll, making him no longer capable of competing with the younger, more active fighters in the ring. This comment highlighted the general consensus that Tyson, despite his past greatness, was simply too old to face the likes of Jake Paul. Meanwhile, former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou also expressed his displeasure, tweeting that he would, "Next time I see this Jake Paul guy, I'm gonna give him 2 or 3 slaps." Paul responded to Ngannou's tweet with a sharp retort, writing, "Clout chasing doesn't suit you, legend. Maybe John Jones, who took the UFC belt from Ngannou, is the better heavyweight after all." This exchange further fueled the animosity between Paul and the wider combat sports community, showing how divisive his approach to boxing has become. Before the fight, UFC commentator Joe Rogan expressed a mix of hope and skepticism about the Tyson versus Jake Paul bout. On Twitter, Rogan shared his excitement in a humorous way, saying he was getting ready to watch this Tyson versus Jake Paul fight like I'm watching someone cast a spell that I hope actually works. He admitted that he didn't really believe in magic, but still wished for something extraordinary to happen, as if hoping Tyson could somehow defy expectations and deliver a magical performance. However, after the fight, Rogan's outlook on the event quickly changed. He responded to his own tweet with a blunt and disappointed remark, "Magic isn't real." This reply encapsulated the letdown many experienced after the fight, as Tyson's performance fell short of the magic Rogan had hoped for.
I felt, while watching it, I felt disgusted at Jake Paul for putting this together, knowing that Tyson was 58 years old. See, I'm a fighter myself, and I once tried coming back at 48 years old, and my body just shut down. So when you're gonna fight a 28-year-old like Jake Paul against Tyson, who is a legend, he's a national treasure, a world treasure, I felt a little disgusted. Not on Mike Tyson. I feel bad for Tyson, But you know what? I'm proud of Tyson.
Speaking on IFL TV, Oscar de la Hoya also didn't hold back his criticism, admitting that he felt disgusted while watching the match. He was particularly upset with Jake Paul for putting the fight together. Knowing Tyson was 58 years old and well past his prime, de la Hoya, who had attempted a comeback at 48, understood firsthand the physical limitations that come with age. He explained that his body just shut down during his own attempt to return to the ring, which made him even more critical of the matchup between a young, active fighter like Jake Paul and a boxing legend like Tyson. De la Hoya emphasized Tyson's status as a national treasure and world treasure, adding that he felt bad for the former champion, who was no longer physically capable of competing at the highest level. Despite his concerns for Tyson, de la Hoya expressed pride in the way Tyson handled the situation. However, he made it clear that Jake Paul's actions left him with a sense of disgust, feeling that the fight was an exploitation of Tyson's legacy. Do you think Jake Paul is on the path to proving himself as a true boxer, or is it all just for show? Share your opinion with us.